and welcome back to Girl Get Up. For those of you that are new, welcome. For those of you that have been here previously, welcome back. And Happy New Year's. I know we've been dealing with this COVID madness and all of that good stuff, but I really want us all to invest in ourselves, to invest in this new year, growth, prosperity. This is what I'm bringing. So today I have a guest with me, the beautiful Virginia. She's here with us today to discuss her business and how it can affect us in the urban community. Virginia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. So my name is Virginia Rawlins. I am the owner of Building Blocks Together, an organization looking to bring homeownership education as well as real estate knowledge to minority communities. And I'm also a real estate agent for Venture Realty Solutions.
Okay. Question. What made you get into realtor?
Real estate? Yeah. So to be honest with you, I kind of fell into it. So I was working at the state assembly. The member I was working for retired. So I was looking for a new position. So I wanted to do AmeriCorps. So I actually did AmeriCorps, and through AmeriCorps, I ended up at the Albany County Land Bank. And that kind of introduced me to real estate. I was the housing services counselor. So basically, just walking people through the application, matching them with, various funding sources, kind of giving them the background on the properties and things like that. So not too different from essentially what I'm trying to kind of turn Building Blocks into, and what I'm doing also privately as an agent.
Okay. So what is your vision for Building Blocks? What is your overall vision?
Overall, so I think so being at the land bank, you get kind of acclimated with real estate lingo, just general real estate statistics. So one thing that kind of stood out to me, and which is kind of why I was maybe there's a niche, there's a space for a company like Building Blocks. So Albany County is the second in the nation for the black-white homeownership disparity. And that's despite, the already existing housing counseling agencies essentially situated in the Tri-City area, right? We still have that statistic. So to me, in the black community, I think we are afraid of large purchases, things that we're not too sure about. There's a history of redlining, so there's a mistrust of government there. But for me, being at the land bank, I saw the opportunity in investing in real estate. And then, we are starting to, again, have this conversation about Black Lives Matter. And I think really what right, of course. And I think really what we're saying when we say defund the police or Black Lives Matter is that, the funding sources from the political process have to match what our priorities are, right? And so one of those priorities, in my opinion, should be homeownership, right? Especially a city like Albany needs tax money, homeownership. They pay taxes, they pay school and property taxes, but you're building up communities at that point. Particular neighborhoods that have a lot of, vacant and abandoned properties. Even if you're not living in those neighborhoods, but you have the opportunity, the means, the knowledge to invest in those neighborhoods, now you're creating a passive income. Now you're creating different opportunities, maybe even jobs for somebody, to kind of fix up those properties. Does people have those skills?
Wow. Right. So for the people that want to get involved, how do they start? Where do they start?
So I think the best place to start, I host a monthly Homebuyer 101 via Zoom. I have one coming up next week on the 21st. I can share my Zoom link, but I think you could just email Building Blocks Together, visit Instagram, Facebook. You'll see the flyer on there. The link is up there, but also email me buildingblockstogether@gmail.com. And we can kind of connect from there.
And I have all her information linked on the bottom. So if you guys are trying to follow up with her and ask more questions that we don't touch bases here today, you definitely can reach out to her. With Building Blocks Together, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people want to be homeowners. And if not for it to be their dream home, for them to create passive income. but some credit's messed up. Like,
Yeah.
we got this 410, not me. I'm just saying. I'm talking about a friend. Like, is your program going to offer credit repair classes, financial literacy classes? Is there anything?
Yeah, so I'm working right now and I'm also still working a full-time job as well as being a real estate agent.
Boss.
I have merch coming out too, so obviously doing the most. But yeah, so the Building Blocks 101 program, the intent is to prep anybody for home ownership, right? And we're not saying if you have a 600 credit score, Building Blocks Together can help you. If you have this credit score, no. I think the approach of Building Blocks is very much to meet people where they are. I was hosting workshops in the libraries prior to COVID, obviously. Now I'm kind of meeting people in their homes via Zoom. So the program is going to be the same way. We're looking to get 21 Lex and kind of that be the flagship where people can come in and meet with me. But they, will have the opportunity to, get a copy of their credit report, go through their credit report, see what's on it, see what's harming their credit. If we have to write dispute letters, then we could do that. Essentially, if you have to pay off debt, we'll, set up a plan for that, set up a savings plan. Everything, all the steps that you need to take to essentially be successful and preparing for home ownership. That's the intent of the Building Blocks 101 program.
Okay, so like in that program, do they also train them or teach? Because a lot of people, they're renters. Mm-hmm. Realistically, and to be a homeowner, that's a lot of work, a lot of maintenance, a lot of repairing, even with paying water bill, sewage bill. So are we going to have classes where, how can I say that?
Like post-purchase classes?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about? Yes. So I think not right now, because I think I'm very much in the baby stages of just kind of getting the home buyers together and getting out kind of that message. One, the importance of just investing in real estate. Two, why home ownership is important, even despite all the barriers that basically have been put up to kind of, dissuade us from purchasing. We do want to cater to homeowners as well. And I think the most important thing is maintenance. So I do have a couple people in my mind, kind of creating that program. At least like a workshop or a maintenance type of, this is the type of things that you should look out for, and budget for. Right. Exactly. So I think, home ownership is a long process, right? And it really doesn't stop at the closing table. In fact, it literally begins, right? It literally begins almost in many ways at the closing table. But sometimes really, in my mind, I tell people, even if you're 2 years out in your home ownership process, right, you're still in that process. Even if your mind just clicked and said, maybe I want to own a property. In that moment, you started your home ownership process. So everything you do after that, everything you research after that, all the questions you ask, and it might be baby steps, right? And again, it might be 2 years, it might be 6 months, it might be 5 years, but every step after that is the home ownership process. And so the closing table, we're like, yes, new house, everything is mine. Literally, everything is yours, including the maintenance. Everything is yours. Wow. So we do have plans to kind of help out homeowners, even if it's a basic maintenance class. And I think the thing with Building Blocks, I'm not beholden to any specific funding sources at this time. So, TRIP does have already established maintenance class for homeowners. So if you are a property owner, check out TRIP. I don't know if BNI has any courses, but definitely TRIP does. Martin is great.
So for the viewers that don't know, what is TRIP?
TRIP, Troy Rehabilitation and Improvement Program.
And is their program similar to yours, or?
Yeah, so I think essentially you can kind of say it's the same thing. It's similar to AHP, Affordable Housing Partnership, similar to BNI, Better Neighborhood, and I forget what the I is for, Inc.
And they're located in Albany?
And they're Schenectady. BNI is Schenectady. TRIP is in Troy. AHP is in Albany. But like I said before, we now have quote-unquote housing counseling agencies in the Tri-City area, and yet we still have Albany County where they're second in the nation for the black-white homeownership disparity. Something's not happening right?
Yeah, let's piggyback off of that.
Yeah, something's not happening, right? So again, I think, with Building Blocks, I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not recreating the wheel, right? I'm just creating a wheel specifically marketed towards minorities to pull them into kind of that wealth circle, get them involved in real estate, at least get them asking questions about it.
Right. Holy smokes. So what is the barriers that's in Albany County that is preventing minorities from being homeowners?
So I wouldn't say that the barriers are, they're not like special to Albany County. I think it's the typical barriers when you look up like the black homeownership. So make no mistake about it, right? The black homeownership disparities varies from state to state, area to area. But in most places, the average black homeownership rate is at least 10 to 15 points lower than their white counterparts in any given area. And across the nation, you can kind of see the varying levels. I'm sorry, what was your question? I'm like going off on like different tangents.
No, you did. You answered it.
Okay, sorry.
You're fine. I feel like that too when I'm like, getting involved. I get it. So, Virginia, let me ask you a question. What would your ideal client look like?
So I think the ideal client, somebody looking to purchase property, working class, minority, and then you don't really have to be a minority. Like, to be honest with you, if you're interested in real estate, interested in becoming a homeowner, you're my ideal client.
Right.
To me, you have to be dedicated, and you have to know that it's not a cakewalk, right? Like, you might have, like, if you paid your bills on time and you handled your debt responsibly and, certain things you did, you might have good credit just by happenstance, by just being responsible, right? Mm-hmm. But if you don't and you kind of like messed up a little bit, you have to know like there is a rebuilding process, but you can get across that finish line.
Okay, so for your clients that's listening to you right now, and they're like, oh, I need to go see Virginia. They need to have their ducks in a row. What does that look like to them? Credit-wise, monetary-wise?
When you talk about, I guess, like purchasing a property, one, you need to, so there's different ways to purchase the property. If you're buying cash, you really don't have to worry about, like, quote-unquote savings or even credit, right?
So what do you mean by cash? Is it like, here's $200,000 or here's $10,000 by a fixer-upper?
Listen, I've seen both.
Okay.
I've seen both. Like I said, I worked at the land bank. I saw people who bought land bank properties or submitted proposals where they were going to use the equity in their house to buy and rehab the land bank property, and they had $200,000 in equity, right? I just had a client, an investor out the city that just closed. They bought their investment property in Albany using the equity in their house. So it can be cash. It can come in the form of equity. The traditional route, though, is to obtain the mortgage. So in that case, you do have to worry about having a certain credit score. FHA, I think is like 670. After COVID, a lot of those credit scores went up. I do know that Sunny Mae has a product, and the lowest credit score that they'll accept is 580. But typically, obviously, if you're paying your bills on time and doing everything you're supposed to, it should be a little higher than that. But if you don't, again, everybody, myself, you might have credit, something goes in your collection, medical bill goes in your collection, something like that. So then there's NACA, Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America. And they're basically another avenue to purchase a property. All the typical, quote, I know you asked about barriers. Mm-hmm. So all the typical barriers that you see, down payment costs, credit, savings, closing costs. NACA kind of eliminates that. And instead, they are what they call character-based lending. Mm-hmm. So if you pay they have you submit your rent, basically your rent receipts. So if you paid your rent for the last 2 years and, you have a couple bills that have been consistent, basically if you go through their process, you'll get approved. And it's not so heavily based on, your credit score is not a factor at all. But whereas in the traditional market, your credit score obviously kind of determines what type of loan product you get, or even if you get any product at all.